Tokio provides an asynchronous runtime for Rust that allows you to build scalable network applications. Now, Rust does not natively come with any asynchronous runtime, so we have to pick one. Why did I choose to go with Tokio? And why can't we use the threads available in the standard library instead of using a dedicated async runtime? I'm going to explain all of these and more in today's video. I'm going to give you 14 examples to cover all the necessary basics and give you a solid foundation on Tokio. Let's get started. Let's create a new Rust project called Tokio Basics. Open the project in VS Code and install Tokio with the full feature set. Inside the source folder, I'm going to create a new folder called Z Tokio, where I'm going to implement all the examples. For example, I'm going to create demo1 with a public function called demo and export that using the mod file. And in the main file, I'm going to declare the module and also import all the submodules. And this is how I'm going to run each demo. And finally, I'm just going to add this allow unused flag so that I don't get warnings when I don't use any structs or any Rust components. That completes the preliminary setup. Let's go ahead and implement the examples. Let's go ahead and create our first async function. I'm going to create a simple async function that is just going to wait for 5 seconds. And I'm going to call this function inside the demo file. Whenever we run the async function, we get what's called as a future. And the async function is not executed immediately. In order to execute the async function, we need to use the await keyword. And you can only await a future inside an async function. In order to run this function, first let's instantiate the logger. And when we run it, we can see that nothing happens. So we need to create an async runtime to be able to run an async function. I'm going to show you two ways to do it, the hard way and the easy way. First, let's look at the hard way. First, I'm going to create a runtime using the Tokio runtime module. Then I'm going to create a future of the demo file. And finally, we can pass the future to the block-on function of the runtime. Let's save this. This block-on function will wait for the future to fully execute before moving on to the next line of execution. Now if you run this, after 5 seconds, awesome. So we got both the logs and the program ended. That works, but creating a runtime can be tedious to do it every single time, especially on the main.rs file. So there's an easier way to do it. We can just delete these 3 lines and wrap your main function with the Tokio main macro, then change your main function into an async function. This allows you to directly await an async function. So now you can directly run the demo function like this. If you run it again, we should see the same result. Awesome. So that completes your first async function. Although you're running the async function with the await keyword, you are still running this synchronously. This is not exactly a true example of concurrency, but we'll get to it shortly. Before that, let's create a new demo where we can track the time it takes to execute this function. So I just created this new demo where I can capture the start time and end time from the standard module and log how long it takes to execute this feature. If we run this, awesome. So it takes 5 seconds to run this function. But like I said, we are still running this synchronously and this is not a true demonstration of concurrency. To explain my point, in the next demo, I'm going to create a for loop and make this future run 5 times. So just because we are running these functions using the await keyword, we are under the assumption that we are running this concurrently, but let's see what happens. As you can see, each execution of the await keyword is running synchronously, which is why even though we are calling this function 5 times, it takes 25 seconds to run this whole thing, which is not what we want. No matter how many times we invoke this function, we want the processing to be around 5 seconds, right? So let's see how to concurrently spawn this function. So the right way to concurrently execute a function is by using the spawn function in the Tokio crate. There are several other ways, but using the spawn function is one of the right ways to concurrently execute a function. So I'm going to create the future and I'm going to pass it as an argument to the spawn function. Okay, and then you can await this future. Now if you run this, it takes 5 seconds to run it, but although this is doing it concurrently, we are not able to tell the difference So every time you pass your future as an argument to the spawn function, Tokio creates a thread and handles execution of this function concurrently. So calling the spawn function creates what's called as a lightweight thread or a green thread. These threads are handled by the Tokio module, and these are different from the threads available in the standard library. We'll look at the difference between the two threads shortly, but this is the right way to invoke your function concurrently. To truly assert this point, let's try to run this function multiple times, and if we run this concurrently, it should still take the same amount of time. So one way to have run the same function multiple times is by passing it to the join macro inside the Tokio module. So here we can just pass the function invocations multiple times, and if we run this, awesome. So even though we are calling the function 5 times, it still takes 5 seconds to run because we are concurrently executing them. So if you want to execute once, you can use the spawn function, but if you want to execute multiple times, you can use the join macro. What if we don't want to hard code these function executions? What if we can just run a for loop and control how many times we execute this function? For that, we can use the join set module inside the Tokio crate. So we can use the join set, we can initialize the join set, and then inside the for loop, we can create the future and pass the future to the join set. Finally, you can just await for all the futures inside the join set like this and just print the result. There are better ways to handle the result, which we'll look at shortly, but for now, let's just keep it like this. And if we run it, awesome. So we still get the same result, and we can change the loop count to control how many times we want to invoke this function. In this section, let's look at the difference between the standard threads and the Tokio threads. And in my opinion, this is the most crucial concept to understand in this entire video. Okay, so let's see what we did so far. We have been running the functions concurrently using Tokio spawn or Tokio join set modules. So whenever you execute your functions using Tokio spawn or Tokio join set, you are creating what's called as a lightweight thread. These threads are managed by Tokio, and these are also called green threads because they're lightweight. And the way this generally works is you have a fixed set of threads at the operating system level, and the Tokio runtime will decide which OS thread needs to be allocated to the green thread at runtime. Okay, and because these green threads tend to be lightweight, you can create thousands, if not millions, of these lightweight threads as per the standard documentation. Now let's see what happens when you do the same thing using the standard thread. So every time you spawn a new standard thread, you are creating a new thread which is directly managed at the OS level. So these threads do not tend to be lightweight, and it's only advisable to use these threads if you have a computationally expensive task to run or you need to do some kind of rendering. So these tasks are generally designed for CPU intensive work and not for IO work, which tend to be short-lived. So first, let's implement the same thing using the standard threads, and let's add a few logs to illustrate this point. So in this demo, I'm going to first import the spawn function from the standard thread module, and first I'm going to create a runtime to be able to make the threads wait for this asynchronous function to complete, and then I'm going to create a vector for the task handlers, and then I'm going to loop 5 times, and inside that I'm going to clone the runtime and push the execution inside each thread. Finally, I'm just going to call the join function to wait for all the handlers to execute. Now if we run this, we get the same logs, and it only takes 5 seconds to run. We don't see any difference right now, but once we add a few logs, you will start to see the differences. So first I'm going to log the total number of OS threads available on the system. Now if we run this, we should see that a total of 10 OS threads are available on the system. Inside the async function, I'm going to log the thread ID as well. Now if we run it, we should see the thread ID. If we run this 100 times, you should see that inside each thread the ID is unique. So I wish we had a unique or persistent ID at the OS level, but the way this works is every time a new operating system level thread is created, it gets created with a unique ID. So the point that I want to demonstrate is the Tokio threads reuse the thread ID, whereas the OS threads do not reuse the thread ID. So that is what makes the OS threads quite expensive compared to Tokio threads. And to demonstrate this point, I'm going to have a new demo. In this demo, everything stays the same, except instead of using the standard threads, we're going to use the Tokio threads. We're going to use the join set to execute the function, and we have the same logs here as well. And we're going to run this 100 times and let's see what happens. Now if you run this, you can see that some of these executions share the same thread ID. So here we can see 11 and here we can see 8 being reused. Even here we can see 8 being reused. So this is the beauty of using Tokio threads, because they're lightweight, because they use the same OS level thread to execute the function multiple times, right? And because we only use these Tokio threads for IO tasks which are short-lived, this is how Tokio allows you to achieve concurrency. I know what you're thinking. If you're just focused on concurrency and not parallelism, why don't we have the same thread ID across all the executions? So this is where Tokio takes a completely different path as opposed to other async runtimes. So this is one of the design choices of Tokio that has its merits and also drawbacks. Tokio tries to combine both concurrency and parallelism, which may not be what some developers want, or some developers might be looking for just something simple, right? You just need a concurrent system that can run on the same thread. But Tokio tries to blend both and gives you a sophisticated solution that comes with a steep learning curve and something that you may not want all the time. So this is where I was split. Instead of using Tokio, I looked at other async runtimes. The two popular ones are Small and async STD, async implementation to the standard module. But whenever you're opting into the async runtime, you're not just opting into the runtime, you're opting into the whole ecosystem. Tokio as of now is the most mature, stable and well-maintained async runtimes for Rust. So when you're opting into Tokio, you're also opting into the entire ecosystem that is built on top of Tokio. For example, if you want to implement a web server, you can use Axum, which is built on top of Tokio. Or if you want to implement WebSockets, you can use Tokio Tungsten, which is again built on top of Tokio. So whenever you're investing in an async runtime, you are buying into the whole ecosystem. So the downside with Tokio is that it's bloated and there are several components within Tokio that you may not need. And Tokio also combines concurrency and parallelism, which is not something that you want all the time. So I was split. I tried looking at other modules, like I said, but I decided to go with Tokio because of those reasons. Tokio threads are lightweight, so let's demonstrate that. Instead of 100, I'm going to call 100,000 instances, and if we run this, no problem at all. Tokio runtime can easily handle this, and the way it does it is by reusing the same OS thread for multiple executions. If we do the same thing with standard thread, I'm not even going to try 100,000. I'm just going to set it to 5,000 and let's see what happens. As you can see, the program couldn't handle such a huge volume and it terminated abruptly. So that is what makes Tokio threads quite powerful, and like I said, it's able to do it. It's able to achieve the lightweightness by reusing the same OS thread for multiple function executions. We can go off on a tangent on this topic, but because we're only covering basics, let's end it there and move on to the next example. In this example, let's pass the index of this for loop to this asynchronous function. So I'm going to update the function to take in the parameter I and also include that in the logs. And finally, when we create the future, I'm going to pass the index. If we run this, it works fine. One thing that you notice is that the order is not guaranteed. So that's one of the things with join set. When you execute these functions, the orders may not execute in the right sequence. Next, I'm going to pass another variable which is outside the for loop. Okay, I'm going to update the function with a new parameter called name. And I'm also going to include that in the logs. And I'm going to create a new variable called name outside the for loop and pass it as an argument to this future. And what I want to say is, would the name still exist after we wait for all the futures to execute? So I'm going to log it here, and if we run this, you can see Newton is still valid even after all the asynchronous functions are executed. So unlike a standard thread where the ownership is moved to the child thread, that is not the case with async thread. So even when you create a function and you can pass it as an argument, it still stays valid even after all the functions are executed. Again, I think this is a very crude example. The right way to share data, like I said, is through primitives. And like I said, that's a very complicated topic and deserves its own video. But The point that I want to convey here is when you spawn standard threads, you would have to move the ownership to the child threads, but that is not the case when we do it using joint set. Okay. In this example, let's see how to handle exceptions inside the async function. So whenever the value is even, I'm going to panic this function, and inside this while loop we're going to handle all the possible cases. I'm going to replace this with a match statement to handle both the normal executions and also the exception. Okay, if we run this, I'm going to run the loop only 5 times. If we run it, awesome. So this is how you can handle exceptions using the match statement. In this example, we can return some value from the async function and also handle that using the match operator. Okay. So if we run this, we are returning the square of the argument that we passed to the lazy high function, and awesome. So we should see the square returned and displayed in the final log. Now let's see what happens if we run a blocking function using Tokio threads. So I'm going to create a function called blocking code, and I'm going to run this function when the value of I is 3, and I'm also going to print this. Now if we run this, I'm going to invoke this function 5 times. Do you think it's still going to take 5 seconds to run? Let's see what happens. As you can see, it took 7 seconds to run because these threads have to wait for this blocking code to process. So that is something you have to keep in mind when you are using Tokio threads. Tokio threads are lightweight and only designed to work with IO tasks which are short-lived. But whenever you have a blocking code or a CPU-intensive task such as a heavy math calculation or you're rendering something, then it's better to use a standard thread instead of a Tokio thread. That being said, Tokio does offer a feature to handle this. Let's look at it. Tokio offers a function called spawn blocking that you can use to execute CPU-intensive tasks. So inside this code block, instead of directly calling the blocking code, you can call this spawn blocking function and pass a closure to run the blocking code. Let's save this. Now if you run it again, awesome. Now it only takes 5 seconds to run. So all this function does is allocate a new OS thread for this code block so that it doesn't block other functions from executing. So this works just like the standard thread, but this is built into the Tokio module itself. That's about it. I think that covers the basics of concurrency using the Tokio runtime. As always, leave your thoughts and suggestions in the comment section, and I will talk to you in the next one. Bye.